My ex-wife sued me to steal $175,000 from my children. She manipulated my 17-year-old daughter to hand over her college fund, but the judge said something that left her destroyed. I'm 42 years old. I work as a manager at a logistics company, and about 2 months ago, a legal battle finally ended that had me on the verge of a nervous breakdown for almost a year. My ex-wife, Amanda, tried to take the money I've been saving for my kids' college since they were born, and when I say tried to take, I mean she went all the way to court asking for additional child support and basically trying to manipulate our kids into handing over their college funds. But let me start from the beginning, because this story is long, and I need you to understand the full context so you can see how absurd the situation got. Amanda and I got divorced about 8 years ago, when Olivia was 10 and Lucas was barely 7. It wasn't a horrible divorce, the kind where people throw plates at each other's heads, but it wasn't friendly either. Let's say it was functional. We split everything as fairly as we could. We established a 50-50 shared custody that has worked pretty well until recently, and I've always paid my part of everything. Clothes, school supplies, extracurricular activities, medical expenses, everything split down the middle like we agreed. But there's something Amanda never knew, or well, she knew but didn't know exactly how much I had saved, and that's that since Olivia was born, I started putting away money specifically for my kids' college. At first, they were small amounts, $50 or $100 a month when I could, because we were just starting our careers and money wasn't exactly abundant. But it was always a priority for me, like something sacred that I wouldn't touch for anything in the world. Then when Lucas was born, I did the same thing, opened another separate account just for him. And look, I'm not rich or anything like that, but I had 2 strokes of luck that allowed me to significantly increase those funds. About 6 years ago, I had an accident at work. Nothing serious, but I injured my back and had to be in therapy for several months. The company reached a settlement with me and paid me about $85,000 after legal expenses. I could have used that money to buy a new car or go on a trip or whatever, but no. I divided that money and put it straight into Olivia and Lucas's college accounts. And about 3 years ago, my aunt, who was the only family I had left on my mom's side, died and left me an inheritance of approximately $60,000. Again, everything went straight into the kids' accounts. Between those 2 events and my constant savings over all these years, I managed to accumulate something like $90,000 for Olivia and $85,000 for Lucas. I mean, it's not like they can go to Harvard without worries, but it's enough for a good state university with some left over, and that's always been my goal. That my kids can study whatever they want, without having to work full-time while doing it, or graduate with student loan debt that follows them for decades. I graduated from college owing like $40,000, and it took me almost 10 years to pay it off, and I swore my kids weren't going to go through that if it was in my power to prevent it. Amanda knew I was saving for the kids' college, like I had mentioned several times that I had separate funds for that, but I never told her the exact amounts because honestly, it wasn't her business. She was also supposedly saving on her end, or at least that's what she said when we were still married. After the divorce, we each handled our finances separately, and honestly, we never talked much about money beyond the shared expenses for the kids. Everything was going relatively well until about a year and a half ago, when Amanda met Kevin. The guy is like 45 years old. Works in construction, I think. And he already came with his own family baggage, so to speak. Turns out Kevin has 3 kids from 2 previous relationships, a 6-year-old girl and 2 boys aged 14 and 11. They got married super fast. Like within 6 months of meeting, they were already living together with all 5 kids in Amanda's house, which by the way is a 3-bedroom house. Don't ask me how they manage with so many kids in there. And as if that wasn't enough, a year ago Amanda got pregnant and they had a baby girl. And then like 8 months after that baby was born, I find out she's pregnant again. So basically, they went from being 2 adults with 5 kids to 2 adults with 7 kids in the span of 2 years. Total madness. I don't say anything because it's not my life or my problem. Like my kids go there every other week as we agreed in the custody arrangement. And as long as they're well taken care of, I don't care how Amanda organizes her family circus. But then the problem started, because clearly Amanda and Kevin's financial situation got difficult. And it makes sense, right? 7 kids is a lot of money, in food, clothes, everything. And 2 of Kevin's kids get some child support from their moms, but it's not much apparently. The thing is that about a year ago, Amanda calls me and says she needs to talk to me about something important. We agreed to meet at a Starbucks near my work, and when I arrive, she's there with Kevin, which already seemed weird to me because usually our conversations about the kids are just the 2 of us. I sit down and Amanda starts with how things are difficult financially at their house, that they have a lot of expenses with all the kids, and that basically they need me to pay more child support. I tell her I don't understand, that we have 50-50 shared custody, that I pay my half of everything for Olivia and Lucas religiously, that there's no reason for me to pay additional child support. And that's where Kevin butts in and says something like, well, if you paid full monthly child support, we could save that money for Olivia and Lucas's college, because right now everything goes to day-to-day expenses, and we're not able to save anything for their future. I just stared at them like, are you serious? I told them I was already saving for our kids' college and that I'd been doing it for years, that this wasn't their problem. Amanda looks at me with a surprised face, as if she really didn't know, even though I had mentioned it to her before, and asks me how much I have saved. I told her a considerable amount and that I wasn't going to get into details because they were separate accounts in my name, specifically designated for Olivia and Lucas. Kevin then says something that almost made me spit out my coffee. He says it would be fair for those funds to be divided among all the kids in the family, that after all, they're all siblings and should have the same opportunities. That's when I stood up from the table. I told them very clearly that money was for my kids, that I had saved it for years with my own effort and my own money, and that Kevin's kids or whatever babies Amanda and Kevin had together weren't my financial responsibility at all, that I wasn't going to pay additional SNAID child support because there was no legal or moral reason to do so, and that my college funds weren't going to be touched for anyone other than Olivia and Lucas. Amanda tried to play the victim, saying, we're all family now, and that I was being selfish by not thinking about the well-being of all the kids, but I didn't let myself be manipulated. I left there furious. Seriously, I couldn't believe they had arranged to meet me, to basically ask me to finance my ex-wife's stepchildren's college. I thought that was the end of it, but no, it was just beginning. About 2 weeks later, Olivia, who at that time was almost 17, comes to my house crying. I ask her what's wrong, and she tells me her mom had been talking to her about the college money, telling her it was selfish to have so much money saved just for her when her little siblings, referring to Kevin's kids and the babies, had nothing. That family helps each other, and that she should consider sharing her college fund with her siblings because that's what a good person would do. I went crazy, like I felt my blood boiling. Olivia was confused and guilty, telling me, Mom says you have a lot of money saved and that you could help everyone, but you're selfish. Is that true, Dad? I had to sit down with her and explain the whole situation calmly. I told her exactly how much I had saved for her, how I did it, that the money was specifically for her education and her future, and that no one, absolutely no one, had the right to ask her to share it, that Kevin's kids had parents who were responsible for them, and that the new babies were Amanda and Kevin's responsibility, period. That I had worked hard and sacrificed for years to make sure she and Lucas could go to college without financial worries, and that didn't make me selfish, but responsible. Olivia calmed down a bit but still felt bad, and that killed me because I saw that Amanda had put her in the middle of an adult problem. The next day, I called Amanda. I was fuming. I told her to leave Olivia out of this, that it was unacceptable that she was emotionally manipulating our daughter to try to get money. Amanda got defensive, saying she was just teaching Olivia about family values and generosity, and I yelled at her. Yes, I yelled, not to give me that garbage, that what she was doing was emotional abuse and pure manipulation. We agreed to meet in person to discuss this face to face. We met at another cafe, this time just the 2 of us. I made it very clear to her that if she put ideas in Olivia or Lucas's head again about sharing their college money with the other kids, I was going to fight for full custody. That I kept records of all the kids' shared expenses, that I always paid everything on time, and that she had no valid claim against me. Amanda cried, told me I didn't understand how difficult the financial situation was at her house, that Kevin earned well, but with so many kids, the money didn't stretch, that the other kids deserved the same opportunities as Olivia and Lucas. I told her I understood it was difficult, but that wasn't my problem, that she had decided to marry someone who already had 3 kids, and then they decided to have 2 more, and those were adult decisions that came with financial consequences. That I planned my life responsibly, and I wasn't going to subsidize her decisions. I thought after that conversation Amanda would understand, but things only got worse. Lucas, who at that time was like barely 14, started having problems at school. His grades dropped, he'd come to my house stressed, wasn't sleeping well, and when I asked him what was wrong, he told me that at his mom's house everyone made him feel bad for having money saved for college. That Kevin's kids said things to him like he was Dad's favorite, that he had advantages they didn't, that it wasn't fair, and that Amanda and Kevin constantly made indirect comments about how unfair the situation was, always in front of the kids. Lucas told me, "Dad, I didn't even ask. For that money, why are they making me feel guilty about something you did for me?" That was the last straw. I called Amanda and told her to either stop that shit immediately or I was going to get a lawyer and fight for full custody. That they were affecting our kids' mental health with their constant manipulation, and that I had evidence of it. Amanda got angry, told me I was controlling, and that I couldn't threaten to take her kids away just because she was going through financial difficulties. But the reality is, I wasn't threatening without foundation. I had already consulted with a lawyer and he told me I had a solid case if I could prove that the environment at Amanda's house was negatively affecting the kids. Things calmed down for like a month, maybe a month and a half. Olivia was almost turning 18 and was applying to universities. Lucas was doing a bit better at school. I thought Amanda had finally gotten the message, but then Kevin calls me and tells me they urgently need financial help because they have problems with rent and utilities. That if I could lend them about $5,000, they would pay me back in installments. I told him no, that I wasn't a bank, and that besides, after everything that had happened, I didn't trust they would pay me back. Kevin got aggressive, telling me I had tons of money saved while they were struggling to make ends meet. How could I be so insensitive when my own kids lived in that house half the time? I told him the financial situation of his home wasn't my responsibility, that if they had trouble supporting 7 kids, maybe they should have thought better before having 2 more, and that my kids lived perfectly fine at my house where they never lacked anything. He hung up furious. A week later, Amanda shows up at my house, unannounced, demanding that Olivia give her access to her college fund because she was her mom and had the right to know how that money was being managed. Olivia was already 18 at that point, and legally, an adult. The accounts were in my name, but with Olivia as beneficiary, since she turned 18. And I had already explained everything to her about how they worked, how much there was, how she could use it. Amanda was telling Olivia that she, as a mother, had to supervise that money, that I could be manipulating her, that the family urgently needed help, and that the right thing was for Olivia to consider helping at least a little. Olivia, who, thank God, was already more mature and understood the situation, told her mom that money was for her education and she wasn't going to touch it for anything else. Amanda went hysterical, screaming that she had raised a selfish daughter just like her father, that we were insensitive people who didn't care about family. I had to ask Amanda to leave my house or I would call the police. Olivia was crying. I was shaking with rage. After Amanda left, I hugged my daughter and told her she had done the right thing, that she had every right to protect her future. But seeing Olivia like that destroyed me, because a child shouldn't have to defend herself from her own mother trying to take away her education money. I thought we had hit rock bottom, but Amanda still had an ace up her sleeve. About 2 weeks after that incident, I receive a legal notification. Amanda was suing me for child support, claiming she was the primary caregiver for Olivia and Lucas and that I should pay substantial monthly child support. The papers said the kids spent more time at her house than mine, that I didn't contribute enough to their expenses, and that I also had significant financial resources I was hiding. I mean, it was all lies. We had legally documented 50-50 shared custody. I religiously paid my half of absolutely everything, and my college savings weren't hidden resources but money I had earned and saved specifically for my kids' education. I contacted my lawyer immediately. I showed him all my records, all the payments I had made for years, the custody agreement, text messages I had saved where Amanda admitted I paid my part of everything. My lawyer told me Amanda's case was weak, but we still had to go to court and present evidence. It made me so angry that Amanda had gone so far, like she actually took this to the legal system just because I wouldn't give her money that didn't belong to her. The hearing was like 2 months ago. Amanda arrived with Kevin and a lawyer who had clearly convinced her she had a case. Her argument was that since she and Kevin had more kids in their home, the expenses were greater and I should contribute more because I had the financial capacity to do so. My lawyer presented all the evidence of shared custody, bank records showing years of punctual payments on my part, even brought statements from the school confirming the kids spent exactly the same amount of time with me as with Amanda. We also presented evidence that the college funds were separate accounts designated specifically for education, not general resources available for child support. The judge, thank God, saw through all of Amanda's theater. He asked her directly why she was seeking additional child support when there was a 50-50 custody agreement working perfectly and where both parents fulfilled their responsibilities. Amanda tried to explain about the other kids, and the judge basically told her that her current husband's children, or the children she decided to have with him, weren't relevant factors for determining Olivia and Lucas's child. Support. He completely rejected her claim, reaffirmed the existing custody agreement, and even said something like he hoped both parties could focus on the children's well-being instead of being in unnecessary financial disputes. Amanda left there furious. Kevin didn't even look at me. Since then, about 2 months ago, Amanda and Kevin haven't mentioned anything about the college funds or additional child support again. Olivia started college this semester at an excellent state. School, she's studying biomedical engineering, and her college fund is covering everything perfectly. Lucas is in his sophomore year of high school. His grades went back up, and he's much calmer now that the constant pressure at his mom's house has stopped. They still go there every other week, like always, and Amanda seems to have finally accepted she's not going to get that money. I'm not going to lie, this whole situation left me emotionally exhausted. There were moments where I questioned whether I was being too harsh, whether I should have helped at least a little. But then I remember Olivia's face crying because her mom made her feel guilty. I remember Lucas with problems at school because of the constant manipulation, and I know I did the right thing. That money is for my kids' future, period. I saved it for years, through sacrifices and financial discipline, and no one has the right to make me or my kids feel guilty about it. Last week, Lucas and I were having pizza at my house, like a quiet Wednesday night, and he asked me, "Dad, do I really have enough money saved for whatever college I want?" I told him yes, that he had enough for a good university and not to worry about it, to focus on his studies and deciding what he wanted to do with his life. He was quiet for a moment and then said, "Thank you, Dad. I know you worked really hard for that, and that's enough for me, I guess." Knowing my kids are going to have the opportunities they deserve, regardless of the circus Amanda and Kevin put on trying to take them away.